Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Concrete Zebra with Craftmaster Productions, and today we're going to be going into the super secret, crazy R&B chord tutorial. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Concrete Zebra with Craftmaster Productions. Today we're going to be looking at how to make a guaranteed R&B banger. I'm not gonna say it's a hit. That depends on your audience. But once I show you these chords, it's gonna be deuces in your pants. I know it. So okay, so check this out. R&B music, right? It's very chord centric. You're not going to have a whole bunch of crazy synths and different melodies in your beat, because the first thing that you want to remember when you're making this kind of music is it's gonna have a singer on it, and the singer is the main instrument, not your fucking arp. So you got to back that mentality out. You just want to give them some nice chords, a very simple lead line, some great drum rhythm, really deep bass, and that's it. And the singer's gonna make the song. That being said, there are a couple of chord progressions which are just guaranteed winners that everybody uses and still uses to this day. Using a proven chord progression is not corny. It's how things are done. So with that being said, I'm going to show you guys how to use the 2-5-1 progression. Now, what do those numbers mean? Okay. Quick music theory. Don't tune me out, man. Just keep paying attention to this shit and you're going to be a ninja soon. What you want to realize is when you're creating music, you pick your scale first. So I've picked F major. Inside of that scale, there are 7 notes that are, good notes that are contained in that scale that'll sound good together. So for this scale, you start at F, and as long as you have this box clicked, remember that's that's our training wheels. I still use it. You're not going to be able to click any sour notes. So you start at F here, and you find out, okay, here's F. That is the first note in the scale. That's your 1. G is your 2. A is your 3. A sharp is your 4. C is your 5. D is your 6, and E is your 7. The reason why that's important is because when you go around and you start because after you watch this tutorial, you're going to understand a lot more about chord progressions. You're going to start Googling, what are other good chord progressions, and people are going to, tell you it's a 1-4-6-5 or a 1-4 or a 1-5, and you're going to want to know what those numbers mean. What those numbers mean is they represent the first note of the chord that you're playing in relationship to the scale. So again, in this scale, F is the 1, G is the 2, A is the 3, A sharp is the 4. If we switched to, say, G major, you would then go and start a G. Okay? And G would be the 1. A would be the 2, B would be the 3, C would be the 4, D would be the 5. All right. So, just relax. Music theory isn't that hard. Just get that concept in your head. So 2-5-1, that means that we're going to be making a chord progression where we use 3 chords, okay? And they're going to be, the root notes of those chords are going to be the 2nd note in the scale, the 5th note in the scale, and then the 1st note in the scale. So that way it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about what the actual chord names are. You could pick any scale as long as you use the 2nd, the 2nd chord, the 5th chord, and the 1st chord. So here's my 2nd note. We're just going to do the root notes now. And then we're on 2, 3rd note, 4th note, 5th note. Oops. And then F is our 1st note. Now this is a 3-note progression. typically you're going to work in, in 4-bar sections. So you have a couple of options when you do a 3-note progression. You could just take this note and extend it out this way, and make it play 2 bars, and you get something that sounds like this. Or you can, for this one, I like to start like this. Okay, and then your next step is you're just gonna want to fill out the chords. If you watch the Maybach chords tutorial, this method will be familiar with you. I'll go over it again. A chord is comprised of more than 2 notes. We're going to be building what's called triads, which are 3-note chords. They're the basic chords in the scale, and the triad is composed of a first, a third, and a fifth. I don't want you to get too caught up in what exactly that means. I don't want you to focus in on that. I just want you to remember those words, because as we go through more and more tutorials, this will start to make sense. And the way that you find your third and your fifth when you're going through and you're making these progressions after you've identified your root notes, which we already have, is you make sure you have this clicked on. I have to stress that to you. Make sure you have this clicked on. All you do is you count up to the third and the fifth notes from where you've started. So for example, make sure you include your first note. This is 1, and you want to hold Alt and drag a note up so you copy. So here's 1, 2, third. Same thing. Fourth, fifth. 1, 2, third. 4, fifth. 1, 2, third. Fourth, fifth. 1, 2, third. Fourth, fifth. If you do that, no matter, as long as you have your scale quantize clicked on, and you do that counting method, you will always create the perfect triads within your scale. So this is what they sound like now. So yeah, you can already start to hear that you've got the basis of an R&B song right here. Boom, already done. The next thing that you're gonna want to do, R&B typically doesn't work in triads. They usually have like really awesome players playing complex chords and stuff like that, and that's not to discourage you. You can still create that feeling inside the piano roll. All you have to do is remember, keep it simple, but don't be basic. We've got the simple part down. Let's get out of the basic mode. So the way that you do that when creating chords, the way not to be basic is to add sevenths and ninths. R&B is almost always going to have a bunch of sevenths in the progression. So you're safe to start out when you're making your vibes to make everything a seventh. And remember, you had first, third, fifths. Same thing with the seventh. You're on your fifth note, sixth, seventh, sixth, seventh, sixth, seventh, sixth, seventh. Let's hear what it sounds like now. Instantly, you have a more richer, complex, and sophisticated voicing of the chords. For a trick that I like to use is is when I do R&B, is the first chord that I start with. I make it a really big, fat chord. So I add a ninth, and here we are on our seventh note. So using the counting technique, all you have to do, copy 7, 8, 9. Let's see what we got. Okay, now you're getting somewhere. The next thing that you want to do to make sure that you don't have a basic ass progression is you want to add some inversions. And To invert notes, all you have to do is change the octave of a note. So what I'll do, just to do it real fast, is I'll click something, you hold shift and press down, and you see that's the same note being played, but it's in a different octave. Okay. So I'll take, I'll invert that. Maybe I'll invert this note here. Maybe I'll invert this note here. And then maybe I'll invert this note here. Now you see how where I have two of the same chords playing, because I've inverted them to make, this note high here and this be the low note here. It's still going to be the same chord technically because it's playing the same notes, although they're in different octaves, but it's going to have an up down movement because your highest note is here and your lowest note is here, even though you're playing the same chord. So let's listen. So instantly you have a complex, rich, beautiful R&B progression. Now the Rhodes is a more, it's a more old school, traditional feel. If you want to get into something more modern, put this progression inside Nexus, and it literally sounds good on any instrument. For example, let's try something. We'll do a gated pad. Check this out. Okay, you can put a piano on it. Simple pad. Aggressive synth. Strings. Now, this progression isn't like any progression. It's also not restricted to a simple 1-bar rhythm. You can highlight all of these, set your grid to eighth notes, go to split it grid. This is how I create a lot of my more patternized chords, and then you wind up with something like this. Okay, and then you delete a couple notes here, and then you just kind of mess around with deleting a few notes here and there, and then stretching out some notes here and there to come up with a new pattern, and give yourself give yourself a more complex rhythm. And that's it. That's the 2-5-1 progression. You can use it in other scales. I wouldn't recommend using it in the natural minor if you're trying to, if you want to make something a little bit more tense and aggressive, and you want to use minor chords, go for the Dorian scale. It's just because if you use I'll show you what happens if you use a 2 chord in the minor scale. Here's F natural minor. So if you have, so here's going to be our 2 chord in this scale. Then we go 2, 3rd, 4th, 5th. You wind up with this. And that chord right there, it's really cheesy. You know, it sounds like something out of a horror movie. So if you switch to the Dorian scale, it's going to change where your 5th is located. If you notice that, and you wind up with something that sounds like this, as opposed to this. Yeah, you see how much better that sounds. Dorian's is it's actually a pretty popular scale in music. It's like an alternative to the minor scale. It was used in Still DRE. The Scott Storch played those keys in Dorian, so don't be scared to use this. It's been used in hits. You'll be fine. I'll show you what 2-5-1 sounds like in that scale just while we're working in it. 5, 1, 3, 5, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So here's what the 2-5-1 would sound like in Dorian. So as you could tell, any scale pretty much, it's a money progression. It's always going to have an emotional vibe to it. So go ahead, use the hell out of it. Everybody else is, you could tell, all you got to do to this is, add drums, 808, some good transitions. That's the other thing is when you're making R&B, you really want to focus on your drops and transitions, I'll be doing a full R&B tutorial to kind of show you guys some of the different methods that you can use. But for now, I just wanted you to kind of wrap your minds around the chords. If this video helped you out at all, please subscribe to the channel. Please just take a second to click like on it. Those likes help a lot. I hope you guys took something away from this. This is Concrete Zebra with Craftmaster Productions, and we'll see you on the next one.